Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about dealing with academic integrity and academic integrity violations. First, it's important to communicate your policies early and often. Your academic integrity policy and your AI policy should be clearly stated in your syllabus, and they should accompany every assignment that you give as well. It doesn't hurt to talk about them together as a group in your classroom and to communicate to students exactly what's expected of them. It's important also to communicate your motivations. Why do you have the policy that you have? For instance, in the composition sequence, it's really important for students to learn some skills before they begin to use AI. It's the same reason we don't want them to plagiarize other people's work. We actually want them to learn how to write well before they start using other tools to help them write. So communicate your motivations. Having a why can really help students buy in to your policy. It's also really important to communicate the consequences. They need to know what will befall them should they decide to commit an academic integrity violation. So communicate those in your syllabus as well, and maybe even on each assignment. It's also really helpful to get to know student work. That is, read their responses, have them do some in-class work, really get to know their voice so that you can help them develop it, and also so that they can take pride in that voice as well. And when you get to know student work, it's actually easier to kind of recognize when and if they have strayed away from that voice. It's also really important and incumbent on us as faculty members to design strong assignments. We need to design assignments that are both meaningful and valid, but they also need to intrigue students and to encourage them to be involved in that process, that scholarly process. So we need to ask good questions and not just blanket statements or questions or prompts where they write 5 pages or they do this or that or the other, things that can be easily found on the internet. So we can be more creative, and that actually helps mitigate some of these academic integrity problems as well. I think we really have to consider offering off-ramps. And so maybe you've noticed over the years, students have dealt with more mental health issues and stress. And sometimes the sole reason for an academic violation is because of stress and worry, and they don't have time to complete what they're going to do. And so they choose that path of least resistance. So I always offer in my syllabi a chance to come talk to me, and you get a certain number of potential extensions over the course of the semester. But they come with guidelines as well, and you can decide how that works in your classroom. But offering off-ramps can also really mitigate these kinds of academic integrity violations and bolster academic integrity. If your students are communicating with you that they are stressed or they're not dealing well with the semester, and you can together come up with a plan that develops their own communication skills and their integrity as well. So how do we deal with violations? First, spend your time and their time wisely. If you think there's a violation, do not spend 12 hours trying to figure out where it is and engaging with AI to try to figure out how they cheated or how they maybe have committed this violation. Just talk to your students, and if you think there's a violation, then ask them to rewrite or redo. Conference and mentor. In the composition program, our policy for years has been that we're here not to find you doing plagiarism and put you in the plagiarism jail, but to teach you how to think and write. And so if there's a violation, think of it as an opportunity for a second chance and a good opportunity for learning. That doesn't mean that you can't uphold expectations. There are always consequences when there's a violation in the composition sequence, but those consequences can be as simple as you lose some points, or you have to do an extra thing, or you have to meet with me multiple times. That was a big consequence. So think about how you want to deal with your violations. Because they've made a mistake, or maybe because they've taken the easy way out, doesn't mean that they still can't learn from the experience. Your consequences can be any number of things, and I think it's interesting to think about the kinds of consequences. Your typical options are to fail the assignment, which is just an F on the assignment, or a 0 on the assignment, which can be detrimental for an overall grade on a course. And then you can also automatically fail the course. And it depends on the nature of the assignment and what was communicated beforehand and what the expectations were. So those are always the options. And of course, the academic dean's office has a whole set of policies, and you can communicate with our academic dean, who's very supportive about these consequences and about communicating with the students. Some creative options are in-person only writing and work. Sometimes I have students sit in my office to do that, and also doing more of that in general. And I think a really interesting creative option is not necessarily a consequence, but a response. It's collaborative revision with real people. So instead of collaborating with an online ghosty ghost, get together with a group of people, have the assignment, and talk through it. It's amazing what happens when we come together with people who are in like circumstances and who have similar fields of expertise, and you can come up with all sorts of interesting brainstorms and really nuance your projects. Sometimes you can have a student develop a new assignment and complete it. So, okay, this assignment was something that was struggling. I mean, of course, you have to approve that assignment, but getting the student involved and buying into a new assignment can help maybe change their perspective a little bit. And then we have other resources on campus about how to mentor students to use AI appropriately, and some of our professors, some of our colleagues are really knowledgeable about this, and we have other faculty and staff positions who can give you more information about that. Or you can do it yourself. You can do it together. And I always think collaborating with students is a very meaningful process, and especially if they have done something that you feel like is a violation of academic integrity, then working with them to show them how to do better is always a worthy exercise. The last thing that I want to talk about is just goals and backward design. What do you want out of your assignments? What do you want out of your class, out of your semester's work? Do you want your students to gain a certain kind of skill? If that's the case, then you have to think about how you design your syllabus and how you design every assignment. What is it that you want them to take away? And why do you have the AI policy that you have? How can we understand and mentor our students from the position that they're in, where AI is everywhere? If you watched the Olympics, you realize that the AI revolution is here. And so thinking about how we get them to the skills they need, and also understand that AI is not going anywhere, and also teach them academic integrity. So thinking about how we do that just means that we see a big picture before we kind of hone in on the little details. If you have more questions about AI use or about academic integrity, please come talk to the academic dean or to the composition faculty, who have collected a lot of resources, but we're not experts for sure. But we'd be happy to help in any way. Thank you for your time, and good luck.